Hello, I'm Matt Galloway, and this is the Current Podcast.
If the apocalypse was upon us, you'd want to know as soon as possible, right? But who would know first? Perhaps those in charge, the ultra-wealthy? Enter the Apocalypse Early Warning System. It tracks billionaires' private jets so that you can find out if they are all taking off at once to their so-called doomsday bunkers, possibly signaling the end is nigh. The tracker is real, but more than a tool, it is a bit of cheeky social commentary about the moment we are living through. And it's the creation of artist and coder Kyle McDonald. He is in Los Angeles. Good morning, Kyle.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Walk us through the premise here, though. For those who aren't plugged into the lives of the super rich, what exactly are you tracking as a signal that things are going bad?
So super rich have access to jets that we don't, and we can track them using something called ADS-B, which is a kind of GPS signal that's sent out over radio. And there's a big network of trackers, receivers all across the world that get sent to a site called ADS-B Exchange. I'm working with that data to identify trends and see when the number of planes in the sky is much higher than it has been at this time of day, at this time of week in the past. And I'm using that as a signal to identify when people are on the move.
And the reason that it's significant that they're on the move, the premise here is that they would indeed be headed to potential doomsday bunkers.
Exactly. I noticed that there's been, stock market trades and poly market trades that have preceded some major events in the Iran war, in other kind of oil market futures, that kind of thing. They come right before announcements from our American president. So I was thinking, if people know about those things that affect them economically, they're probably going to know about the moment before he pushes the button too.
I love that your answer started with laughter and ended with the moment he pushes the button. And I do want to be clear about this. You're not a global security expert. I saw you saying in another interview, you want people to laugh. This is what, a joke, social commentary? How should we think about your doomsday tracker?
I'm an artist, but I work with technology, and I'm often a technical consultant as well for new technologies. So my artwork deals with technologies that are really on the cutting edge, and I'm exploring their uses in ways that other people don't always have the chance to. Outside the arts, you have to make a product that makes money, or you have to make something that you can sell to people. Within the arts, you have space to really explore in a lot of novel ways, and so that gives me a chance to try things and kind of set new precedent. Like in 2012, I developed the idea of face swapping for the first time, and that probably wouldn't have happened without kind of artists getting in the way of new technologies. So I have a lot of technical experience with how to make this kind of thing work, but it's not my, I wouldn't say I'm like a global security expert. I know about tracking planes.
Remind us about the face swapping. That's two images.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You might have remembered around in the mid 2010, maybe 10 years ago, there was apps like Snapchat that had these face swapping filters. And then later it got really creepy with deep fakes. But before that, I was just kind of having fun. And I learned that you could swap faces in real time and kind of use someone else's face as a puppet. So that was a new idea and just barely possible in the early 2010s. And I kind of set a precedent for that with a friend, Arturo Castro. We developed that system together.
So you obviously like to unsettle people with your art.
I love it. And I think part of what I love the most is when experiencing that unsettling feeling can give us some new understanding of our present moment. Like here, I've just been feeling like we don't really know who to trust anymore. We don't know where to get our information from. We sort of just look at where people are spending their money as the only source of truth. And, you know, maybe data is the place that we go to instead of the news or anything else. And I thought I'd just collect some more of that data.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Think about money as numbers, but data as well. Let's unsettle people a little bit more as we dig into how the system works. There are 5 levels of alert. What would it take for all the alarms to go off? Red alert, signaling we're really in trouble.
So it happens at least once a year. That's the way that I've calibrated it.
Right. Annual apocalypses. It seems a bit of an oxymoron. Yeah.
Yes. I was trying to figure out, how do you know when it's the apocalypse? And I decided, well, let's just assume that it's something that's worse than any time in the last year, which means that it will necessarily happen around once a year. So the last time it happened was actually on April 6th, which was the day just before Trump was tweeting, a whole civilization will die tonight, which means probably there were some people who got the warning just before that he was taking things pretty seriously.
This is on Iran.
Yes.
But you think that the fact that there were many planes in the air around the time he said that, like, do you really think the ultra rich were headed to their bunkers?
Something was going on. There was a spike at around 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on April 6th that is really unprecedented in the whole last year of private jet flights. And I can't find another explanation. I've spoken with some NetJets pilots and other people who, are responsible for flying these planes around, and no one else has any idea except for, people were kind of getting out of the cities.
Okay, well, so let's say I sign up for your apocalypse early warning system. How do I know we're not going to get to a level 5 just because they're all going to, like, the World Economic Forum or the Kentucky Derby or whatever?
Yeah, so I tried to identify those kinds of events where they're localized to a single place, and there are a bunch of them. There's Art Basel, there's Kentucky Derby, like you mentioned, there's Formula One Miami, even Burning Man, Daytona 500, Sun Valley Conference, Cannes, all of these events have people flying in and out at specific times, and it does trigger a spike, but we can identify that that's the origin of that spike, and we can rule it out. So this system is really designed to track kind of global and especially American activity because most of the private jets are in America.
Well, I guess in a way, it's not such a bad thing, I would imagine, from your perspective, if some of those things do sort of set the system off, if the commentary you're trying to make is about wealth disparity, right?
100%. Yeah. I mean, I like to have this tracker that's telling me, something's happening out there. And one of those things that's happening is that hundreds or even thousands of people are taking a flight that is the equivalent to to my yearly salary, just on a lark to go see some sports.
Yeah. On the sort of doomsday bunker side, people may not know that this is a real phenomenon. Meta's Mark Zuckerberg, for example, is said to have a bunker under his mansion in Hawaii, although he just calls the 5,000 square foot space a basement. Reid Hoffman, co-founder of LinkedIn, has said that when the uber wealthy talk about buying a house in New Zealand, it's code for, quote, apocalypse insurance. I mean, is there something here in your thinking about the ultra wealthy actually being able to insulate themselves from some of the worst outcomes?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of it on the other side too, which is we want to insulate ourselves as the public. Everyone wants to protect themselves. If you had money, you would probably be buying a bunker too. Everyone's trying to keep their families safe and themselves safe somehow. And with this site, I think I'm kind of doing something similar. This is my bunker in a way. I'm trying to figure out how I can stay safe. And I think other people are coming to the site trying to figure out how they can stay safe. I got an email the other day after someone signed up for email and text alerts. They said, hey, Kyle, am I safe now? And I want to tell them, no, you're not safe. I wish I could help with that, but I think that's something you got to talk to a therapist about. That's not something I can help you with. But I think, we're all trying to find safety in our own ways. And I think that's another kind of modern story is the disparity between our access to safety. I think as, kind of general public and working class, we have a very realistic perspective on it, which should be rooted in kind of community solidarity. Whereas the ultra wealthy have taken a totally different approach of believing that they can somehow separate themselves from the rest of us.
I mean, there's the sort of day-to-day struggle of trying to get by that so many people are seized with right now. And then there are these moments where everything is shaken up. Like if I think back to the pandemic, right? Some of this sort of apocalyptic doomsday feeling, it does become a bit less funny, frankly, Kyle, right? I think we've all had people in our lives who have been very unsettled by world events in the past decade, certainly. So what do you want people to come away with in terms of what we can say about people's own agency? You kind of nodded to it there a moment ago.
Yeah, I would hope that when people stop by this site and get a laugh for a moment, that they remember, there's still things we can do. Like we have an ability to look into the data. We have an ability to watch the watchers, and it's not all hopeless. I think a lot of things are telling us that there's nothing we can do. We're given all the information in the world, but no ability to act on it. But I'd hope that people can look at this and say, oh, there's some other ways that we can kind of look at the data, that we can be observant, that we can be kind of on our toes, and maybe it's not all lost. I would hope that people can feel creative when they look at this and they say, oh, I hadn't thought of tracking, private jets. What else can we track? What else can we look at,
So what I'm wondering, though, is as an artist, where do you go after the apocalypse? What are you going to do now?
Well, after I launched the project, I got a comment on a post on Instagram from the one billionaire I know who inherited his wealth and seems to be doing a pretty good job of redistributing it. But
did it include a bunker invitation, or?
Well, he said on the comment, he was like, "Haha, this is funny," and I just replied as saying, I'm going to see you when the apocalypse comes. And he said something really nice. He said, I've got a bunk for you. I'm expecting a lot of people. And I thought, there are people who are trying to figure this out with us. And I hope that we can make it work in the end.
Yeah, no kidding. Listen, Kyle, I really enjoyed this conversation. It's one I'll remember for a while. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Kyle McDonald is the artist behind the Apocalypse Early Warning System and many other projects. He was in Los Angeles.
This has been The Current Podcast. You can hear our show Monday to Friday on CBC Radio 1 at 8:30 a.m. in all time zones. Or you can also listen online at cbc.ca/thecurrent or on the CBC Listen app or wherever you get your podcasts. My name is Matt Galloway. Thanks for listening.